Hi, I'm Steve Edwards. Welcome into the Edit Booth. We're talking today with Ernie Banks. And Ernie Banks, of course, is a baseball legend, a Hall of Famer, 512 career home runs, two-time MVP, and the man known around baseball, and especially here in Chicago, as Mr. Cub. We sat down for a long conversation recently, and we talked about the Cubs' chances this season, but also about his own career in baseball, and a conversation that naturally turned toward race.
I just felt comfortable playing in the Negro League. I really missed that. And I'm one of the few players that came out of a segregated situation with the Kansas City Monarchs to integrate it when I came to the Cubs. I was going from segregation to integration. So my whole part of my life was learning how to relate to another group of people. And I didn't talk.
You didn't talk much during those first seasons?
No, I didn't talk.
What changed?
Well, Jackie Robinson, we played the Dodgers for the end of the year after I came up. And Jackie came over, and he came out early, I came out early. He was over on first base, I was on third. He came over and, he said to me, "Hey, glad you're here, listen and you can learn." That's all I remember, listen and you can learn. So that's all I was there, listen and learn it. It was an adjustment that, I had to deal with. I live south. Most of the white players live north. So we played together and lived apart. I didn't understand that. And then you didn't ever have any relationship during the off season with any of the white players.
So then the question, obviously, is when did Mr. Cub start to feel like Mr. Cub?
Never felt that way.
Really?
Never.
Throughout your entire career?
Never felt that way.
So we just found this fascinating. I mean, here is Ernie Banks, Mr. Cub, Hall of Famer, talking about how he didn't feel fully at one with the game or even in a Cubs uniform until much, much later in his career. In fact, he told us he didn't feel completely comfortable or like he'd made it or been a success until he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Now, given all of that, the real question is, where did the phrase "let's play two" come from, and why even play two?
I didn't want to go home. That's why I said, "Let's play two," because it was like when you're playing baseball, it's like it's on that field. It's like your whole life. It's your world, and you don't want to leave it. I didn't want to leave there. And the Wrigley's had an apartment right there in the left field, and I wanted to talk to him about renting the apartment and live right there at Wrigley Field. But he had that traveling secretary living in that apartment. But I didn't want to leave. It was such a joy to be there, to be able to make decisions on your own, when to swing, when not to swing, when to run, when not to run. Everything that you making the decision. But when you get away from the field, somebody else is telling you what to do. That's what happened to athletes. You got a manager, business manager, CPAs, publicists, and all those people. They tell you whether you got to be over here, you got to be over there. But on the field, I felt that this is the only place in the world where I can make my own decisions.
We talked about much more, including Ernie Banks' life after baseball, and got some advice on the art of hitting a major league fastball. By the way, his advice is don't think about it, just do it. But we ended also by getting some fascinating insights as to why the Cubs have been without a World Series ring in more than a century. A lot of people say it's because of day games. The Cubs play, of course, a high number of day games relative to other major league teams. Ernie Banks says in his day, there's no question day games took their toll on him. But it's not entirely for the reasons you think. It's not just because of the heat. It's also because of the eats.
A lot of us during this season, we didn't have lunch. We go out in the morning, 9 o'clock, take batting practice, infield, and then we have to get off the field and come in the locker room. And in the locker room, we didn't have anything to eat, to get the energy.
Then you got to get out for a 1:20 start or a 12:20 start.
That's right, So normally, my energy level would change about the 7th inning. But then we hired a guy named Colonel Whitlow. He was a military guy that developed some drink, a nutritional drink that we could drink during the time we would after we finished taking batting practice to give us some energy. And it didn't work because many guys didn't like that. They wanted to have a hamburger or something, you know, something a little more substantial. But the big thing with the Cubs, and this is a secret, was that we just ran out of energy because we didn't eat, we didn't have lunch.
You can only imagine what was in those nutritional supplements. The problem today, of course, you hand out a supplement drink like that and it comes with a 50-game suspension. So anyway, we hope the Cubs have figured out the lunchtime issue. Otherwise, it'll be probably another 100 years before they bring home a World Series ring. But our thanks to Ernie Banks and thanks to you guys for checking out the edit booth. Now, if you don't mind, we got to get back to deadlines.